real. And it was basically them building this welcome NECA sign with a bunch of balloons on the Minnesota Lynx practice court. Now, fans saw this and they were like, what's going on? Excuse me, what's going on? We haven't heard any news about NECA visiting different teams. We don't know what teams are interested in her. We don't know what teams she's interested in going to until we saw this from a freaking balloon company.
A balloon company. Not Shams Charania, not Adrian Wojnarowski coming out of retirement. A local Minnesota balloon business called Amazing Balloons Minnesota broke the biggest WNBA free agency news by posting an Instagram reel showing a welcome NECA sign they were building on the Minnesota Lynx practice court. The post got 40 likes before it was taken down. 40. And somehow that became the most substantial free agency reporting we've seen in days. This isn't just embarrassing for WNBA media. It's revealing a fundamental problem with how the league's news cycle operates. Because while NBA free agency turns into a 24-hour news event with reporters camping outside hotels and tracking private jets, WNBA free agency in January 2025 has been what Rachel Nichols would call crickets, complete silence. And when fans started demanding answers about why they weren't hearing anything, some WNBA reporters responded by getting defensive on Twitter instead of breaking stories.
WNBA, and it was crazy. And it was actually so funny because Neko Ogumake, she posted on her Instagram account alluding to this because fans started freaking out. Like, fans were like, there's no way that this is real. There's no way that a balloon company is breaking the news before the WNBA reporters. Like, where's Shams? Can Woj come out of retirement and start covering the WNBA? But Neko posted on her Instagram, she said me, and then it's like the balloon company. She posted this meme. Then she posted
Nika Ogwumike's response was perfect. She posted memes on Instagram, making light of the situation, saying the balloon company thinks they're the birthday when they're actually the surprise party. She said nobody can let her travel in peace. It was funny. It was self-aware, and it showed she understands something crucial that some WNBA media members apparently don't. Free agency is supposed to be fun. Free agency is when fans run wild with theories. It's when reporters share rumors that might never pan out. It's when someone spots a player wearing a certain color t-shirt, and everyone speculates about what team that represents. That's the entire point. The speculation, the anticipation, the constant refresh of Twitter waiting for the next bomb to drop. Anyone who's followed NBA free agency knows this. You get reports like Kawhi Leonard was spotted in Los Angeles today, and suddenly everyone's tracking flight patterns and analyzing restaurant check-ins. That energy, that chaos, that's what makes free agency appointment viewing
ooh, so-and-so was spotted in Los Angeles today. Does that mean that they're having a meeting with the Lakers or the Clippers? Or so-and-so was seen wearing this colored t-shirt. Does that mean that they're possibly signing? Or this GM was in Dallas. Does that mean that they're scouting Arike Ogunbowale? Like, those are the kind of things that we're used to when it comes to NBA free agency, NFL free agency, MLB free agency. And I feel like with the WNBA, it's kind of been crickets. Now, because a balloon company broke the...
Here's what makes this particularly frustrating. The WNBA just came off its biggest season ever. Television ratings were up across the board. Caitlin Clark's debut season brought unprecedented attention to the league. The playoffs generated mainstream sports media coverage that the WNBA has been chasing for decades. And now, heading into the 2025 season with over 100 free agents available, this should be the moment when WNBA media capitalizes on that momentum. Instead, fans are making AI-generated photos of welcome Nneka Ogwumike signs for the Chicago Sky, mocking how poorly that organization has been run lately. They're creating fake bye-bye Aja images for Dallas. They're doing the media's job for them because they're so starved for content. And when fans complained about the lack of reporting, some media members started replying emotionally on Twitter, defending themselves instead of recognizing the valid criticism.
comments saying like, well, I don't do this. It's like, that's number one. If you're going to work in this media industry, you got to take your emotions, your feelings out of it. Like, fans are going to be mad at you no matter what you say. They're going to. You're going to have to build relationships. You're also not going to have the greatest relationships with other people if you have better relationships with other. It's just how this industry works. And you just do the best that you possibly can to put out honest, fair information. But it's like, that was the biggest thing that I noticed with some of this discourse. I was like, why are some of these media members replying so emotionally? Why are they?
Rachel makes an important point here about taking your emotions out of it. If you're going to work in sports media, you cannot let fans see you cry online. You cannot get defensive when people point out that coverage isn't meeting their expectations. This isn't personal. This is professional criticism about a product that isn't delivering what consumers want. And what consumers want is simple. They want to know where Kelsey Mitchell is going. They want updates on whether the Indiana Fever are actually pursuing Alyssa Thomas. They want to hear which teams are courting Nneka Ogwumike beyond just Minnesota. The comparison to other leagues is unavoidable. When NFL free agency opens, Adam Schefter is tweeting every 15 minutes with updates, rumors, contract details, team interest levels. When NBA free agency begins, Shams and Woj used to compete to break news first, creating this frantic energy where fans couldn't look away. Major League Baseball has reporters stationed outside Scott Boras's office during winter meetings, but WNBA free agency
off with some Indiana Fever news. So Damiris Dantas is to sign with the Indiana Fever. And now this is the first confirmed signing that we have for the Indiana Fever. It's pretty clear that Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark will be back. It's pretty clear that the Indiana Fever are still going after Kelsey Mitchell. Will she be back? We are not sure. But Damiris Dantas is set to sign with the Indiana Fever. One thing I will also point out, you guys, is fans noticed that the 2026 team.
The Indiana Fever situation perfectly illustrates what fans are craving. Damiris Dantas is confirmed to be re-signing with the Fever. That's the first official signing announcement. Everyone assumes Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark are returning, obviously. But Kelsey Mitchell's status has been the subject of intense speculation. And here's where it gets interesting. Fans noticed that the Fever's 2026 team roster on their official website originally listed only Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Michaela Thompson. Kelsey Mitchell was not there. Then suddenly, Kelsey Mitchell appeared on that roster page. Now she's listed alongside those 3 confirmed returning players. Does this mean she's definitely coming back? Does this mean the Fever successfully negotiated a Supermax contract with her? Or did someone in the Fever's web department just make a mistake? Nobody knows because nobody's reporting on it. Fans are left analyzing website updates like they're reading tea leaves, trying to figure out their team's roster through digital breadcrumbs instead of actual journalism.
Sky. So the biggest news with the Chicago Sky is they sent Angel Reese to Atlanta, and we talked about it. It seemed like they gave her up for not so much. They gave her up for 2 first-round draft picks in 2027 and 2028. But now it was just announced that the Chicago Sky and the LA Sparks are in discussions over a trade that would send Ariel Atkins to the Sparks for Rickea Jackson. Multiple sources told Annie Costabile. While nothing is finalized, an announcement is expected on Saturday.
The Chicago Sky trading Angel Reese to Atlanta for 2 future first-round picks in 2027 and 2028 was genuinely shocking. That's a franchise-altering move that deserved immediate deep-dive analysis. What does this mean for Chicago's rebuild? How does Angel Reese fit into Atlanta's timeline? What does this say about the Sky's evaluation of Reese's potential versus their desire to accumulate draft capital? But instead of getting that analysis, the next big Sky news was about a potential trade, sending Ariel Atkins to the LA Sparks for Rickea Jackson. Multiple sources told Annie Costabile that while nothing was finalized, an announcement was expected on Saturday, and fans were left scratching their heads again. Why would the Sparks trade a young, promising player like Rickea Jackson for a veteran like Ariel Atkins, unless they're going into win-now mode?
List of players who have been confirmed to attend the 2026 WNBA draft on Monday in New York. So just a reminder, I will be at the draft. I will be conducting interviews with the players after they get drafted. So again, please let me know any questions that you would like me to ask in the comments below. But there is about 15 players who have been invited and will be in attendance, and we will just have to see. You guys saw my mock draft, and I made that a few weeks ago before the Final Four, but I'm really excited. I am really excited to be in New York. I'm excited to be on the ground. I'm excited to talk to some of these younger players. You guys know, like, we did it last season on Courtside Club when we had Courtside Madness, and we had a bunch of college players.
Here's what this all comes down to. The WNBA just experienced its most successful season in league history. Attendance records were shattered, television ratings reached heights that seemed impossible just 2 years ago. Mainstream sports media that previously ignored women's basketball was suddenly dedicating entire segments to WNBA storylines. Corporate sponsors who never considered the league before were lining up to get involved. This was the breakthrough moment the WNBA has been building toward for 28 years. And now, heading into the 2025 season, the league has a chance to maintain that momentum. Free agency should be the bridge between seasons. It should keep fans engaged during the months when games aren't happening. It should generate headlines and debates and speculation that reminds casual fans why they started paying attention in the first place. This is how you convert the Caitlin Clark bandwagon fans into lifelong WNBA supporters. You give them something to care about in January and February, so they're still invested when the season tips off in May. But that's not happening. Instead, the biggest free agency story is about a balloon company accidentally revealing that Nneka Ogwumike visited Minnesota. Instead of reporters building relationships with agents and team executives to get inside information, fans are analyzing Instagram posts and website updates. Instead of WNBA media creating the kind of free agency frenzy that makes the league feel important, we're getting silence followed by defensive tweets when fans ask for more. Rachel mentioned she was making phone calls trying to get information for her audience. She acknowledged she's not a traditional breaking news reporter, that her background is in commentary and analysis rather than being the Shams Charania of the WNBA. But she recognized that fans deserve better, so she was attempting to contribute whatever she could to fill that void. That's the kind of hustle and awareness that should be standard across WNBA media, not the exception. The Indiana Fever's new $78 million practice facility that's set to open in 2027 is legitimately impressive. It's going to be the WNBA's largest and most advanced training facility, featuring a virtual golf simulator that everyone assumes was built specifically for Caitlin Clark, plus content creation areas, chef's kitchen, hot tubs, cold plunge pools, saunas, and a full podcast studio. This is the kind of investment that signals the Fever understand they're competing for top talent, that they're building infrastructure to support championship aspirations. That facility announcement generated genuine excitement. Fans started imagining which free agents might be attracted to Indianapolis, knowing they'd have access to that level of amenities. It created conversation about the Fever's future and their commitment to player development. That's the kind of story that advances the narrative and keeps people engaged. More of that, less silence, less defensive reactions to legitimate criticism. The New York Liberty reportedly being interested in Alyssa Thomas is exactly the type of rumor that should be everywhere right now. The defending champions potentially adding one of the league's best all-around players to a core of Sabrina Ionescu, Brianna Stewart, and Jonquel Jones, that's a story that writes itself. That's the kind of move that could create a genuine super team, that could spark debates about competitive balance, that could make every other franchise scramble to figure out how to counter that level of talent concentration. But instead of that rumor dominating WNBA discourse, it's just floating out there without context or follow-up. Are the Liberty actually pursuing her aggressively? What would they have to give up to make that work under the salary cap? How does Alyssa Thomas feel about potentially leaving Minnesota after being the face of that franchise? These are the questions that reporters should be answering, the storylines that should be developing in real time as free agency unfolds. Rachel's going to be at the WNBA draft in New York on Monday, conducting interviews with the 15 players who have been invited to attend. She's going to be asking questions submitted by her audience, creating content in real time on social media before it appears in longer YouTube videos. That's the kind of access and coverage that fans appreciate. That's someone recognizing there's a hunger for WNBA content and doing everything possible to satisfy that demand. The draft should be another major moment for the league. Paige Buchers is expected to go number 1 to the Dallas Wings. Kiki Iriafen, Olivia Miles, Sonia Citron, Dominique Malonga, these are prospects who could immediately contribute to WNBA teams. The draft determines which franchises get younger and more athletic, which teams nail their selections, and which ones whiff. It's appointment viewing for hardcore fans and an opportunity to introduce casual fans to the next generation of stars. So the question becomes, was breaking those balloon company stories worth it? Was posting defensive tweets about how hard WNBA reporting is worth potentially alienating the fans who are begging for more content? Because here's the reality. The WNBA's growth isn't guaranteed. The momentum from 2024 can disappear if the league and its media ecosystem don't maintain the energy that attracted all those new fans in the first place. Free agency silence might seem like a small thing. It might seem like fans are being unreasonable for expecting NBA-level coverage of a league that doesn't have NBA-level resources. But perception matters. When fans refresh Twitter hoping for WNBA news and see nothing, when they watch ESPN and see zero WNBA free agency coverage while NFL coaching searches dominate the crawl, when a balloon company becomes their most reliable source, that sends a message about how seriously the league is being taken. The WNBA deserves better. The players who are navigating these free agency decisions deserve better. And the fans who fell in love with the league in 2024 and are desperately trying to stay engaged in January 2025 definitely deserve better. So to every WNBA reporter reading this, your job is to tell stories, to break news, to create the narrative that makes people care. Take the criticism, learn from it, and do better. Because the alternative is watching the momentum slip away while a balloon company does your job for you.